take a while. And this is how you come down. Alright, I'm on my game this morning, I think. Brought in my second coffee with me, so look out. Nearly spilt it. Raining again, kind of sucks. I'm waiting for the river to go down. Might be my last chance to get, what I've been trying to do is I've been trying to get the most clear, awesome video recording, which at the same time you get a photograph of a wild steelhead in a river creek in British Columbia. And it's coming to a quick end of that time of the year that I do that. And it really absolutely poured rain a little while ago. Excuse me. And the rivers were flooding like crazy. Like the size of the logs that got washed away are incredible. They were high and dry on the bank earlier. And it takes a few days for the river to go down so I can get across it without drowning. And then woke up this morning, it's pouring rain again. I'm like, oh my God, you're kidding me. No! Because it was just 2 days of no rain, starting to drop, and ice is going to go tomorrow. I'll probably go tomorrow anyway. So that's the weather report for my yard. Nothing in my live trap this morning. There's a raccoon who decided to, he got lucky and got a couple chickens over this past month, so I've got a live trap set for him. Ruby ought to get a kick out of that. And I have a lot of people that need to be heard here. Now, a lot of people that need to be heard, a lot of brave people that need to be heard, a lot of people who have these experiences pent up inside them for frickin' ever with nowhere to go, no one to speak to, nobody to share it with, they didn't ask for it, they're innocent. They're innocent, good people, right? And I know not too many, I don't know how many of you think about the same way as I do, but this has been my motivation for a long time. Especially after I shared with you guys that hunting farm I used to go on in British Columbia, somebody brought up this topic, and I noticed a lot of brave guys are starting to come out and share they've seen these things. And there was a handful of absolute bully pieces of crap that went out to trying to slice their throats online publicly and humiliate them and want them to shut up. And that made me growl, and that made me really make a strong presence on that thread, and I made a decision to myself then I would not stop, and I will get the last word in at all costs. More so for all of the brave people who came forward on that thread on that forum. And I did. And but anyway, I guess I've been a little sensitive to that department on this topic, as well as with my grandfather, who didn't share with me seeing one of these things till I was around 25 or 26 years old. And that man, like I've shared before, he priced in the video, he climbed in a sheet metal tube full of bombs and flew right over Germany, right, to help end the Second World War. And possibly saved a whole pile of lives and enabled a whole bunch of you to be born. Possibly, right? And that man, that true gentle man, who didn't ask for this experience, was terrified to share with me that he saw it. He was terrified to share with the world what he saw in the North San Juan Valley. What would that be? That would be north or west of Port Renfrew. Northwest of Port Renfrew. That summer day in July. And he didn't ask for it. He didn't ask to see that thing, but he saw it. And you can't change that fact. And he came forward to me. And I remember I just felt so bad for him when I realized, wow, this brave son of a gun did all that and kept that pent up inside of him because he was scared of all of you. Not meaning you on this channel, but I mean the world, the people. Right? He was scared of ridicule from the same people that he was brave enough to jump into that sheet metal tube full of bombs and fly over Germany, where he saw a shit pile of his friends lose their lives, etc. All the other experiences, a terrible experience to go to war. But anyway, he was scared of the people he was willing to die for at the time, of ridicule. So, which brings me to, as well, how many people have put their careers online to share what they have learned when it comes to this topic, this knowledge, these facts. They have discovered hard, surprising, hard to swallow facts, scientific facts they've shared with the world, right? Only to have their colleagues, say science colleagues, absolutely go at them and attack them and annihilate their careers, try to do everything they can do to discredit them and annihilate their careers because they are not sharing what they want to share with all of you, and they're not sharing, and they are sharing what they don't want shared with all of you. Now, coincidentally, a good handful of these people who are this and have been this ruthless in the past, they have done some very nasty things to some very brave, innocent people. And these people have been in the public eye big time when it comes to this topic. Okay, I'm trying to get this across to you guys as clear and straightforward and factual as I can, without showing much emotion. But for me, and I've said this in the past, I have had some very dark, evil people brought into my life without I didn't have any choice of it, and I lost a lot. It's a long story, some of these stories, but I have lost a lot to people, evil, dark people trying to cover up what they have really truly done and try to discredit me. And I lost a lot because of that at that time. And at that time I didn't realize that we have to fight back. You got to fight back. You can't remain silent. You have to expose people what they've done. You have to. Because if you don't, good people lose a lot. And that's not fair. So what I'm getting at, you guys, is there is a handful of people out there, a couple in particular, who have done some very dirty, nasty things to innocent, hardworking, honest people. Directly when it comes to this topic. Okay? And a few of these people have been in the public eye. They've been what I call lens whores for many years. Every chance they've gotten, they've made it in front of the lens to continue to push their narrative on all of you, which is not the truth. Unfortunately, why? Why, I don't know. Why are they being paid to? I suspect possibly, maybe. I think that truth will come up fairly soon anyway. Do I think it's for monetary gain? Possibly it must, because if you are one of these people is actually a so-called scientist, and this person has attacked many people that you're familiar with, good people that I know, attacked them because they share the truth of what they've discovered when it comes to these forest beings and other things going on in what I call the real world, which is right at the side of this window in the woods and the forests and the mountains. So, not instigated by me, but I wouldn't have minded being the original instigator, but there's a large handful of very good people who are concerned about you, your knowledge, your safety, and they are going to come forward and expose the truth of what a few of these people have been doing for many years when it comes to this topic. All right? And just to give you the heads up, I do not, and I never do encourage or ask anyone to jump on any bandwagons ever when it comes to anybody, including myself. But what I would do is I would urge everyone just to listen up to the truth, the facts that are going to be shared. Listen to it, and however you feel about it, if you see the truth in it, I'm going to ask you to share it, and share it a lot, especially right now. This is a very important time too, and you'll soon find out why. I don't know what the date, but you're going to find out why shortly, why this truth needs to be shared about these characters and what they've done. Okay? I think basically probably 99.9% of you are here for knowledge. And that knowledge that you are after, that truth that you are after, is being shared and is really going to be shared on a larger scale, more factual, in-depth, scientific shares for you. And this one particular person, a doctor, who has been a lens whore for many years, and possibly a handful of other people behind him, they are going to do whatever they can to prevent that truth from coming to you. That truth which is going to be delivered directly from good, hardworking, honest people who have absolutely nothing but your better interests at hand, right? They are going to be delivering for you, for the benefit of you. And it's time that we expose the people who have been misleading you and keeping you going in circles, not going anywhere, not learning anything factual. It's time to expose them, share what they've done, directly from the victims, share with you so you know, all right? You need to know. These people need to be heard. These true facts need to be heard and shared with all of you, okay? All right, there we go. I hope it made sense there. I hope you know what you understand. I hope you're picking up what I'm putting down. And there's a lot of people out there willing to fight. Thank God. I'm one of them. I've been invited into this battle. It's a battle that I've basically I have taken upon myself for a few years now anyway, but now that I've been approached to really get into it, I'm so in. I am all over it. There's nothing for me that motivates me more than exposing bullies, righting the wrong, and making sure that you receive the truth and not the lies. And then after that, hopefully, if or when any of you come across these characters, you will publicly call them out on it. Publicly question them. All right, that's all I got to say. Hope I didn't sound too extreme there. Actually, I don't care how I sound. It is what it is. There you go. I'll leave that for the rest of that's coming on another date. But let it be known, it's coming. It's coming. What goes around comes around. But it is coming. The truth is coming, and the dirty dirtbags are about to be exposed for some real nasty things they have been doing and have done to ensure that you do not learn the truth. All right. Now, before I get myself all fired up, process of information putting it together is the title of this email. All right, what is this? This is titled Sasquatch Audio Recording. All right, here we go. Have I heard it? No, I haven't. Hello, Steve. I hope you're doing well. I was back in my home state of Washington a few weeks ago, and when I was outside late at night, 10 p.m., I heard some strange howling. I grew up in Washington. I'm very familiar with animals and the sounds they make. I grew up near Mount Rainier on lots of land. This recording was taken from my parents' home where I grew up. The audio is slightly muffled due to an airplane flying overhead and the main road in the distance. Please turn up the sound and listen closely. The people speaking in the audio are myself along with my wife. Hope you're able to receive this audio and you're doing well. Excuse me. Please let me know your thoughts on what this might be. I'm also trying to figure out how to clean up the file and get rid of the access noise. Thank you, Britain. All right. Now, what I can do, and I've done in the past, when I get an audio or a video, I've learned to hit download, because I can't. It'll never just play. When I open an email on my phone, hit play, it won't play. But it gives the option of view or download. Hit view, it won't do it. Hit download, it goes into my notes. And here it is in my notes, and I haven't heard it. Let's listen to this. Now, when I get to the editing part of this, if there's long blanks, if there's any pauses, I'll try to edit them out, because I think this is a few minutes long, but let's listen to it now.
You can have my cookies. There's your cookies. You can have some. I was like, you got my cookies. You got bionic ears.
I think we got the gist of it, eh? What do you think? I don't imagine it's going to change much. Oh, it's almost over. There you go. Alright, what do I think? That sounds really familiar to what I remember hearing a recording like that for some hikers in Washington State, and it was broad daylight and they're in the big timber. And they're on a bit of a ridge in big timber, and they're off in the distance. You could hear this, basically almost the same sound, belting out from what sounded like through the timber. I wouldn't be able to guess how far away the noise was from them, just watching the video myself without being there, but I would imagine within a few hundred yards anyway. And it was freaking loud and alarming, and all the people were spooked. And not too many people act like that and act spooked when coyotes are going off, but it did sound coyote-ish. There might have been a couple of coyotes chiming in, maybe. But you can tell from the other sounds that was freaking loud, right? But it wasn't that long, drawn out, way too big of lungs to be human sound. But it definitely wasn't a wolf. I know wolves. It wasn't a wolf. And I don't think it was a coyote. Although it wasn't too far off, but I don't think it was a coyote myself. But I wasn't there. So that's all I can say. That's all I can say. But it'd be interesting to know if you sound like you had dogs there. What were the dogs doing? That'll tell you a lot. What were the dogs doing, right? And you might want to talk openly about this topic in that neighborhood. Talk to your neighbors, talk to people, local coffee shop or whatever, and see what they've heard or seen as well, right? And then you'll probably get better answers than you can get from me here. But anyway, shared. Thanks for sending it. Sounded alarming. Excuse me. This is titled Domestic Violence and Bigfoot. Hello. Number 1, I don't mind if you share my first name. Number 2, this is a long, mind-blowing story. Number 3, this has serious domestic violence content but still PG rated. It's unfortunate that is part of your story, but here we go. After hearing the story about the man whose brother committed suicide, I began sobbing because I really remembered all that happened that day in 76 or 77. I was a high-functioning honors student, and I was about 10 to 11 years old when we were camped at a cabin at Lake Eufaula in Oklahoma. My mom was dating a guy after her divorce from my first stepfather who was an extremely violent bisexual pedophile. Anyone can do the math. The boyfriend, Dennis, had invited his 3 children, 2 boys and 1 girl. were close in age to my younger brother and myself, and I was the oldest. We fished all day, but the boys had been screwing around and chattering about some animal almost all afternoon. It wasn't until we got back to the cabin that I realized the, quote, critter, end quote, somehow had followed the boys to the cabin. The other girl was just inconsolable and sat under a tree by the cabin crying. My mom and Dennis needed, quote, alone time, end quote, and locked us outside. I was furious and shot out the storm door window in defiance, cutting my palm. Safe to say, Dennis was livid, and my mom didn't intervene in my punishment. Ooh. I can relate, I've seen that go down. Fast forward to bedtime. Mom and Dennis stayed outside the cabin. The boys were told to sleep in the covered bed of the pickup, and we two girls were relegated to a couple of junk chase lounges under a tree nearby. I felt like low-hanging fruit. It took a while for the boys to settle down, and the girl finally fell asleep too. I was the last to doze off. Understand it, I am all city kid. I was petrified, to say the least. I could have been sleeping long when I felt someone/something put a distinct hand on my ankle. Because of my first stepfather, I knew precisely what this felt like, so I became still, very still. I knew I must have been having one of my normal nightmares from those days, so I wasn't sure what I was feeling at first. When I slowly opened an eye and began to turn my head, I could hear it. She was humming, or something like that. She reached out to touch my injured hand. She didn't have to lean over, she just touched my hand. She was huge, hairy, and I know she was trying to comfort me. She wasn't alone either. There was what I assume was a juvenile standing at the corner of the cabin, and he was pissed. But not at me or her or anyone there. It was as if he knew who my stepfather was. I could almost hear him asking for a location. It was bizarre. Super, super bizarre. It seemed that the juvenile had brought her. I'm not sure why, except that I knew. I also knew she was there to look at me for some reason. I must have started crying out in my sleep. Very normal. I still do it. Then Dennis' daughter must have heard something because she woke up and began to scream that blood-curdling little girl scream we all know. And all hell broke loose. The boys came jumping out of the truck, Mom and Dennis out the door. The other girl couldn't string two words together, and I was crying in earnest. When I calmed a bit, I lied and said a possum was on my blanket, not knowing that was impossible. But I stuck with my story until tonight. I have no clue why. The boys spent the night and all day searching for that possum. I did get a little chuckle out of that a few times. I never slept out in the woods until well into my 40s. Then it was the high desert. No forest for me. I just cannot know. So the moral to my story is never assume, stay calm, and always be respectful, and mostly don't tempt fate. May my stepfather rest in hell. No, he died years later of cancer, but as a little girl it gave me some peace, even confidence too. I was finally safe. I haven't heard you tell many stories anywhere like mine, with the one exception earlier tonight. Thank you, be blessed, and yes, get an AirTag thing. Never leave home without it, seriously. I may tell my story of when I walked out of the lower Alabama bayou in the middle of the night another time, but only if you use that GPS tag. Godspeed, my friend. And to you too. I'm sorry you had to go through that in life. It's unfortunate. I don't know why so many people do. And I appreciate you being brave and sharing your story here. You're in a safe place here. You're in a safe place here, and everybody here's got your back. Alright? Just so you know, you found your people. And that's really unfortunate. But anyway, there you go. Shared. Take from it what you will, leave it. It's interesting. It's interesting how some of these beings can pick up on whatever it is going on between our ears. Some crazy, wild shit is going on. There's no denying that. Yeah, I'll bite my lip on adding to that topic. Now, here's another one. make sure you email back. In Alaska, Paula in Alaska, bracket more puzzle pieces or more questions, end bracket. Use my name. I don't give a flying shit. Hello, Steve and fellow brothers and sisters of the round table. It has taken me months of pondering to actually open this up and start typing, especially on my telephonic communication device. Ugh. I live off-grid here in the Kenai Peninsula in Alaska, among some of the most wonderful people in the world. One day after hunting season and hanging out with our fellow hunters processing a moose in the cabin, your channel came up in the discussion because we were watching it daily. We had been to Port Chatham and set anchor for the night in the sailboat and walked through the abandoned village that the, quote, hairy man, end quote, had attacked years ago. That story is available online. Check it out. And so the discussion was on. A friend piped in about his buddy being on a caribou hunt. Not sure of the exact location, but here in Alaska. He had a herd in his sights. When he got focused in on them, what he saw must have blown his mind. He could see guys jump out of a military rig in camouflage, shoot a handful of the herd, and a couple of forest people walked over to the kills, picked them up, and threw them in the rig. I don't know if the forest people were in the same rig, or all the details. What the F, right? They drove off toward the hillside of the mountain when the side of the mountain opened up somehow and they drove in. Hologram? This is not my story, but I'm hoping the guy who this happened to hears this. It's okay to tell your story here. I keep waiting to hear your story. I can only imagine how hard it must be to share this without the fear of ridicule. Me just writing this sucks. This is not my thing. I can't imagine living through some of these horrifying things that some of you have lived through and then not be believed. Thank you so much to all of you for sharing your stories here. Reliving it all and speaking up must be as scary as hell. And reliving at the same and relieving at the same time. Be the badass it takes to step outside of the box of this programmed effing reality. I hope this email will give you that extra push to share your story. My experience. I had no idea I've even had an experience until I've heard my story told multiple times by so many of you here. I believe I was about 9 or 10 years old. We lived in the northwest corner of Montana around Kalispell and Whitefish. My dad always had us kids, I'm the oldest of 6, out in the woods, camping, fishing, and just out in the real world, which I am so grateful for. On one camping trip, my dad and I hiked miles up into the mountains until we got above the timberline and found a very clear, calm, and beautiful lake. It took us all day to get to it. Miles and miles into the mountains. I was so excited, I couldn't wait to throw my line in the water. The water was so clear. I remember getting a little disappointed when I could see that far into the water but couldn't see any fish. Standing there pulling my pack off to get to my fishing gear, a huge splash about 7 feet from shore to my left, like someone had jumped in almost. My dad is on my right, scoping things out, and I asked him, "What was that?" He looked nervously around and then said, "Probably a beaver," then insisted that we move a little farther down the lakeside. I thought, oh good, because that splash might have scared any fish away. So I now have my pole in hand following my dad, and as I'm walking, I'm not buying that it was a beaver. Silly dad, there are no trees here. Why would he say that? I just thought that was weird. We get to another spot, and I'm pulling out my earthworms, hoping they haven't died, and casting out. Dad was using a swivel, and he cast out a couple of times when there was another huge splash to my left again. When I say huge, I mean like someone jumped off a high dive. I didn't see it this time, I just heard it. I looked at my dad without saying anything, this time waiting for him to tell me what he thought it was. All I could think is, damn beavers are huge up here. And why would they travel so far away from the timber? As a child, in my head, I pictured beavers as big as bears up there. And immediately after that, all I could think about was fishing. To my horrifying disappointment, he notified me that we were going back down and heading back. He was very hurried and nervous saying this. At 10 years old, I still believed my dad could whip a bear's ass with one hand tied behind his back. as he would put it. He was a boxer in the Marines and a drill sergeant, and that's how he raised us. I didn't ask questions. I've not thought of this event since then, until now. Sounds familiar. Where they come from. I'm always digging and searching for the real truths of the world, not the mainstream narrative, not the lies they want you to believe. In the book, The Law of One, which is channeled material from 1981 to 83, they say that there are 3 kinds of Bigfoot. They are from the planet Maldek. As a genetic resource in case of nuclear destruction, they can withstand radiation where we can't. I'm still trying to decipher all this info, so I will leave it at that. I have so much more to share. Today you read Mike's email from Australia, April 24th, 23. This is what pushed me to write. He spoke so much that I could relate to, minus the Bigfoot experiences. Turn off the talking heads. We the people coming together like this is the real truth, not the deep state-run media, universities, banks, and military. Do some digging and open your hearts to each other at this round table of knowledge. Sending love and light to every one of you. Paula M. Tobin. Paula, you're my sister. You are all of our sister. Email me back. Email me back with more of what you know, right? The first story that you heard sure is a story, right? But how do we know? We weren't there. And one thing for certain is there is crazy, absolute crazy, hard to believe shit is going on today. Whether it's this topic or many others, it's just what it is. It's a fact. And so if a bunch of guys jumped out of a truck, dumped a bunch of caribou with the rifles, there's going to be one of them. There's a real good chance one of them is here listening to this. But I guess if that is fact, these individuals probably wouldn't say shit, right? But somebody witnessed that, and they're here listening to this, email us about it. Share with us what you learned. Maybe even possibly share us a location. Maybe one, or not. It's one hell of a story, Paula, right? I'd be very curious to hear the original source of that one too. But anyway, keep digging. And I absolutely appreciate that message you sent everybody, because I try to send it fairly often myself, but not enough to drive everybody to bonkers, right? Now, what's this one? Next, Paula, make sure you write back, all right? Be safe up there. And keep promoting the real world as much as you can, right? We're on the same page. This is titled Sasquatch Print. Hi Steve, I watch your channel all the time, and I got my nephews in Parksville hooked on it. Parksville, where are we? Parksville's that way. I think I could probably be in Parksville in about 25 minutes driving. You're the best there is on this topic. I've been interested in Sabe since the mid-70s and still going strong. No big reason why I wanted to share this with you, and there's no need to read it out if you don't wish to. Sometime in the late 70s, my husband did a hike in Golden Ears Park, where many other people have, and many people have gone and disappeared. He had a 40-pound backpack on at the time, but being young and vital, it was just fine. He told me, you know what, 40 pounds is what our average is for a 2-week backpack hunt each. He told me that 2 days in along Gold Creek, as he was crossing over a log, there was a massive human-like footprint that was filling in with water. It scared him to death, and he turned around and ran back to his truck, and it took him only 8 hours to get to that truck. Not Sasquatch, but another topic, quickly, because time is valuable. In 1969, I was 10 years old. My folks bought an old house here on Marine Drive in White Rock. White Rock was south of Vancouver, BC, on the coast, just before the border to Washington, sorry. As kids do, when we got to it, we ran all over the place exploring. There's a very long staircase running up to the front door. I was at the bottom of it when I spotted a cat. It was so exciting, a cat! We looked at each other. It ran up past me on that staircase and right in front of me. It disappeared into the stucco wall. I never forgot that. I guess you didn't. Oddly, the wall was all shimmery and kind of sparkly, and it went through it. Weird, huh? Maybe the word portal is overused at times, but I swear to God, that had to be one. By the way, one of my nephews was a laborer up in Horn Lake. He asked the caretaker about Sabe, and she said that they're everywhere. And she even watched a family of them building their fort. I'm suspicious of that story, though. Apparently she was on her horse at the time. Wouldn't a horse react? Speaking of horses and Sabe, has anyone asked Ron Moorhead how their horses reacted during the Sierra Sounds? I believe Mr. Moorhead, but can't find an answer to that. Keep on keeping on, Steve. Kind regards, Kathy Garner in White Rock. All right, I don't know if Ron follows this channel or not, but I do have mutual contacts with him. Actually, one of them I'll be talking to fairly soon, and if I can remember to, let's see if I can pass that question on. Or maybe he might even know, because he did ride up there with Ron to that very spot after the forest fire wiped out the whole frickin' area except the patch where their camp was and where they recorded the sounds. Bizarre, right? It's a good question. Know how the horses reacted? Interesting. Horn Lake, right over the hill from me. Numerous sightings all over the place there, here, all around here. There just are. There's no stopping. There's no change in that fact. Important addition to the puzzle. Thank you for sending that email, by the way. And if you hear or learn any more, make sure you send it here or speak out loud about it somewhere, all right? Just make sure you speak out loud about it. Don't be scared. You're obviously not. All right. What we got? They are everywhere in numbers. This title of this email. Hello, Steve. I want to thank you for being the person that you are. You set the standard for what the men of this planet should only hope to model. Your stance on the protection of the women and children and the exposing of the dark evil beings we have running this world into oblivion is something that every blue-blooded male should take to priority. My name is Glenn Spann. I don't care who knows it. I'm 57 years old, an Army vet, and have a great woman with 5 kids, all grown and out of the home. I'm very blessed to have been given my life's dream and desire of such a wonderful family. That's truly all I ever really wanted, and God blessed me with that. I've hunted here in southern Alabama all my life, heard the tree knocks and a couple of whoops, but passed it off as just being odd, like most, I suppose. Had not had an encounter until I believe June or July 22. It all changed in a huge way. I've written into you, and I know you get them at random, so I will not vote the people with repeating the story. But I wanted to send in this photo that I took as I traveled north on Highway 55 just outside of Andalusia, Alabama, on my way home to Greenville. Steve, I can see these things even when cloaked, and I can sense them when they are nearby. I hope to explain all of this to you sometime when the time allows. I've had a lot of really strange things happen in the last 4.5 years that has contributed to the seeing them when they don't want you to. Oh, and I don't know if you remember the story of the truck driver who said he saw a dinosaur in the early morning hours or not. He isn't alone. But I found out it is purposely made to look like a dinosaur, but in reality it is a ship or craft from the sky. I know it sounds crazy, and I'm not trying to convince anyone to believe it because it doesn't really matter. I know that I know that I know what I saw more than once. It's getting crazy out here, so be safe, Steve, and always endeavor to preserve. Sorry, to persevere. I pray protection over you, your family, and all the How Hunt family, and may God reveal to us the truths that have been stolen from us. Holy shit, there's a photo. Yeah, at first I'm like, I thought the trunk was a long arm, but I don't know. It's an odd one, isn't it? It's an odd one. Shared. And I appreciate your encouraging words, man. And you're right. We need to protect. Men are here to protect, right? We're here to protect, not hurt the women and children, especially the children these days. Everybody needs to start protecting. Everybody needs to start to protect the children and the women. Each other, right? I haven't really been saying too much about all the crazy shit going on the planet lately, just because I forced myself not to really watch it too much the last handful of days. I've been so freaking busy, but because I do when I do, and I start digging and I start growling more, and I find it upsetting. And then you try to pass on what you're learning to all the people, and then all too common, it just falls on deaf ears, it seems, right? And sometimes it gets to the point where you start thinking, man, it's almost like it's just like it's an infection. You just gotta let it run its course and push out the bad part on its own. But I don't know, we'll see, right? Is that all we can do, is just watch and let it take its course, and watch all the lives get ruined and all the what should be fair chances of living an awesome, happy, rocket out lifetime, watching all those chances be stripped away from so many people at the same time while you sit back and watch it take its course, right? It's very hard for me and many other people just to sit back and watch and not do anything. It's very hard. I don't know why. Sometimes I wish it could be, I wonder what it would be like to just not give a shit. Not give a shit what happens to your neighbor, or happens to those people over there, or those people over there, or those kids over there. Or what would it be like to just not care, as long as you were good, you know? To just not give a shit and rock it out. What it would be like to have that demeanor, stance in you, than the one of caring, the wanting to expose the dark, filthy bastards, wanting to take them down, wanting to make a difference, wanting to do something and make everything better. It's a frustrating place. But anyway, share it, my man. Share it. And whatever you got more knowledge, whatever you got, whatever you come across, whatever you learn, if you got more, share it. Share it with all the people. Speak out loud. Speak the truth. If you want to share it through me, I'll do it. Obviously. And be safe. Be safe out there. Everybody be safe. And please, please, please take note of the bad things going on around or near you. And don't let it go on anymore. Alright? Just don't let it go on anymore. Now, save this image. What do I have here? I've got one image to share, I think. One image and one recording I have to put into this video. Hope I remember to. Now, I gotta get moving. But, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. If you need to, rewind this video and listen to my opening babble again. And make sure you get it firmly between your ears. And understand that there is a lot of people out here that have been harmed from people who play the nice guy role. It's wrong. And they're going to be exposed. And a lot of truth is going to be shared. And now remember, mark my words, when the truth is becoming public, the dark, guilty ones are going to attack it with all they got. Alright? There's your heads up. I'll be back shortly.